right. Well, I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I'm having so much fun bringing you cutting-edge information and from entrepreneurs, from thought leaders, from authors all over the world. And I'm really excited to announce something. I'm speaking this September of 2018, at the Future Tech Expo in Dallas, Texas. It's actually September 14th, 15th, and 16th, and I'm speaking there. It's an amazing event. It's one of the biggest blockchain, Bitcoin, and tech expos in the world. People like Tim Draper and Randy Zuckerberg are going to be there, and you can rub elbows with some of the smartest people in this world. September 14th, 15th, and 16th. If you text Bluevase, again, text Bluevase to 555-888, you can be my VIP. I'm going to give you some discounted tickets, but you can also be my VIP. There's an opportunity as well to have dinner with me and my team, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this world of cryptocurrency, of Bitcoin, of blockchain, and the future of technology. Again, text Bluevase to 555-888. If you want to be involved in this world, if you want to grow in this world, if you want to take advantage of the biggest opportunity of your life, then you need to be at events like the Future Tech Expo. Again, text Bluevase to 555-888. I'll see you there. All right. Well, my name is Michael Alden. We are here in Bluevase Studios, and I always say this. I started all my shows like this and tell you how excited I am for my next guest. And, I'm excited for my next guest for a whole host of reasons. You've probably maybe seen me on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram talking about the world of cryptocurrency, talking about Bitcoin, maybe seeing some of the things that I'm doing. And it's such a new world for me. It's an exciting world for me, and it's just an exciting world for this planet, for everybody on this planet. And there's so much information out there. There are so many individuals out there that are trying to kind of get ahead of it and provide information. And I'm really excited for my next guest. His name is Richard Jacobs. He's the author of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain, Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcasts, interviews of industry leaders. He's also the founder of really one of the biggest technology expos out there within the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. It's called the Future Tech Expo. He's here today. He's going to talk a little bit about his book. I'm going to ask him a lot of different questions about, what are some of the things that are going on within this world of cryptocurrency. So if you're interested in the world of cryptocurrency, if you've maybe heard the term Bitcoin, but you don't really know what it is, you're not going to want to miss this program. Richard, thanks so much for being my guest.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
So, again, thanks so much for coming on. Do you go by Richard? Because when people ask me that, I say, I don't like being called Michael. I feel like I'm in trouble,
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I prefer Rich.
All right, cool. We'll go with Rich. Rich, so let's just get right into it. I want there are a lot of my viewers and listeners come from the world of entrepreneurship and business, and a lot of people are interested in growing and wealth and all these things within that world, and they're hearing a lot about this term Bitcoin and blockchain, all this other stuff. So I'm gonna hopefully you don't mind, but I love your book for a couple reasons. Why? Because of the simplicity of it. So I want to kind of bring it down to that level for a second. Let's talk about some of the basics. And the first question I have for you is, what is Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's funny. Probably like a lot of people, I had heard about Bitcoin in 2013, and a friend tried to explain it, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he showed me some articles on it, and I just was like, I don't even know. I forget about it. And I just let it go for years, And then in 2016, I started hearing about it, and I remembered, I remember this a few years ago when I started looking into it and getting into it and going to meetups and interviewing people, et cetera. And just, to start with, it takes a while to really understand what Bitcoin is. So don't feel bad. Don't feel stupid. It's very complex. But to put it simply, it's digital money. You have, let's say, a debit card in your wallet, and you go to pay for something. Well, you're not handing cash nowadays typically to someone. You're giving them this card, and they're debiting your account, but it's all electrons. Money is not material anymore for the most part. Bitcoin's the same thing. It's just digital money. Yes, it has some interesting characteristics that make it different from traditional money, but if you want to just really boil it down, that's what it is, just to put it really simply. And if you want me to go into some of the characteristics that make it really unique, I can do that.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get to that at some point. So all right, I get that. For me, that makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of like you. We have almost a very, very similar story as far as when we started getting involved in it. So let me ask you this. So in its most basic terms, Bitcoin is essentially digital money. I feel like most people can understand that. And so my kind of follow-up question to that is why do we need it? Why do we need Bitcoin? And we're going to get into what cryptocurrency is in a little while as well, which is Bitcoin, I think we know is the first one. But why do we need Bitcoin?
Well, because we have problems with our monetary system. In the U.S., it seems like everything's okay for now. Yes, we have inflation, but it's not runaway inflation. One of my family members originally was born in Zimbabwe, and there over the past 15 years, the Zimbabwe dollar has inflated unbelievably. At one point, they were printing 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollar notes, and they were worth nothing. So there's been these cases of hyperinflation that have happened throughout the years in different countries, and it happened in Zimbabwe, and their currency collapsed, their economy is a mess. With Bitcoin, I'll just give you one of the examples. The total supply of Bitcoin that will ever be created will be 21 million Bitcoins. So that limits the money supply. There's no central government that controls it. They can't just print as much as they want. They can't just say we need to pay some debt, so we'll manufacture like 1 trillion more out of thin air. That can't be done with Bitcoin. So that's great. It's a limited value, a limited amount, and that makes it more precious, first of all. Second of all, there's a lot of barriers to people using their own money. If you're not allowed to deposit money into other people's bank accounts because you're assumed to be a terrorist. You can't do that anymore through a lot of the major banks like Chase and Bank of America and all that, which is crazy. I can't deposit money in someone's account, my son or daughter's account or my brother's account, and I'm a terrorist? Seriously? If I want to send money to somebody, the bank may say no. It may take 5 or 6 days to do it through a bill pay. The bank charges me a fee. If I have my money and I want to pull it out of the bank, they may freeze the account. They may take the money, like Wells Fargo, they may manufacture BS accounts. They may block me from using my own money. So it's crazy. Our money is earned by us. It's taxed, but we still don't even have control of it for the most part. A lot of people may not feel this, but in other countries, Venezuela, India, Zimbabwe, etc., they've had a lot of problems with money. Cyprus, the Greek debt crisis. So, to a lot of people around the world, this is a super serious subject, and Bitcoin promises to take the shackles off how we use money.
So Bitcoin is a way for us as individuals to take control of our hard-earned money. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah, that's like a brief summation of it. There's characteristics about it that let us do that. Again, one of them is the limited supply. Another is that it's what's called cryptographically secure. So you store your money essentially. Again, it's not physically stored, but you store it at an address you control. The address has two facets to it: a public key that people can use to send money to that address that you control, and a private key that is used to spend the money out of this address that, let's say, you control. You can manage your private keys such that no bank can ever take them from you, no government can ever take them from you. You can have your wealth in Bitcoin and it can be portable. Let's say you memorize this address or you have it written down somewhere. You can travel the world and you have this money with you that's spendable and has a value, and it's under your control. It can never be taken or stolen unless it's, a hacker gets into it somehow, and fools you into giving it over to them. But ideally, it's something that you can control and keep with you, and that's like a very powerful concept.
Yeah, as you're talking about it, it is exciting. Like I said, I've been involved in the world a little bit myself as well, and I'm learning every day as we go by, and that's why I'm so excited to have you on. So now let's, you were kind of alluding to it, this word of decentralization. Tell us about what decentralization is, and then move into how the blockchain is also tied into that, and also what is blockchain.
Yeah, so just like people, are made of cells, so are dogs and cats, et cetera, and there's DNA, there's instructions that code these cells, right? So blockchain creates all these creatures. It's created Bitcoin, it's created Ethereum, it's created, thousands of different coins. That's one way to think about it. It's this technology that lets you create all these different abilities. Some fly, some walk, some crawl, etc. That's probably the best analogy I can give you. Okay. Here's what decentralized means. So, how do you know what money is worth? You have to keep a ledger. Who has what and how much of it? Who has how many dollars and how much of them? So you need a ledger, a listing of everyone that has the money, everyone that owes money to other people, etc. And everyone has to agree to what's on that ledger. All right. The problem is right now with our money system, let's say in the U.S., is we have thousands of different ledgers that are kept by private companies, some by the government, etc. This information is not shared between the ledgers. So if I have $500 in a Chase bank account, how do I know that? Well, I only have that because the bank's ledger says I do, and everyone kind of agrees that I have $500 in my bank account, at least for the moment, unless it's taken. And I'm able to, if I go to a merchant and spend it and buy a cup of coffee, the merchant knows, okay, well, I can trust that, the bank's ledger is probably not screwed up and, this money's actually there, et cetera, right? Bitcoin, its ledger is public. There's a public listing of every transaction that has ever happened in Bitcoin, every address that holds any money. Not only is there this public ledger, but there's thousands of copies of it on computers all over the world. So if you try to change the ledger, you can't. You'd have to attack thousands and thousands of computers around the world. And in order to update this ledger, you have to do a tremendous amount of mathematical computation to be able to update it. So the amount of computation and effort it takes to update this ledger and monkey with it and change it is so high, it's impossible to do by any one person. You would need vast amounts of resources to do it. So this ledger it can be trusted. It's an immutable, meaning unchangeable ledger. And it's distributed, decentralized over thousands of computers. So that's what is really cool, or some of the aspects of coolness about Bitcoin to me.
Yeah, I love it. In a second, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this decentralized aspect, the immutable part of it, and the verification side of it, and how that ties into the term that you and I have heard, and some people have probably heard as well, which is mining, and what mining is and why that's important in just a second. Folks, if you've been listening or watching right now, we have been on with Richard Jacobs. He's the author of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain. We mentioned two of the terms so far, Bitcoin and blockchain. We're going to talk about Ethereum in a minute. His book is really, I love his book. I love the simplicity of it. There's a lot of information out there about this world of cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. What I really like about Richard's book is the simplicity. He's taken a lot of very, very complex subjects and complex matters and really kind of brought it down to a level that really anybody can benefit from. So if you want some more information about Richard or his book, you could just go to Amazon. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's also available on Audible. And then the other thing too, and for me and for those of you that are listening and watching our program, for me, I'm really doing my best to try and get as much information out as possible. He's also the founder of the Future Tech Expo. You can just go to thefuturetechexpo.com. It's coming up in September of this year, and where thousands and thousands of people all over the world are coming together, plus some of the leading experts in the world are going to be at this expo. So if you want more information about Richard, again, you can just go to thefuturetechexpo.com. You can find his book, again, available on Amazon. But if you also want to get that information, that update information, and be around people that are in this world that we know and you've heard me talk about is in fact the future, then check out thefuturetechexpo.com, get your ticket, and sign up today, because I know last time it sold out pretty quick. So again, if you want some more information, you know where to go. Richard, okay, so we talked about this immutable aspect of it, this distributed ledger aspect of it, and how this distribution is literally to thousands and thousands, if not probably millions of nodes and or computers now that make it virtually impossible to hack or to mess with. Tell us about mining and how miners are involved in this verification part of it, and also this kind of the security aspect of it, and why mining is important for some cryptocurrencies and not others.
Yeah, this is probably the most difficult and strange concept in crypto. So remember how I told you that it takes a tremendous amount of work to monkey with the ledger. It's pretty much impossible. So the system was designed this way. It was designed by a person named Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know if it's a man, woman, group of people, etc. It's a mysterious founder that disappeared, which is pretty cool, actually. that created Bitcoin. So here's the concept. So miners, what they do is they compete to solve this really complicated math puzzle, and they have to use a ton of computing power to do it. And the winner of this math puzzle gets the right to record a bunch of transactions, new transactions, onto the Bitcoin ledger, onto the Bitcoin blockchain. And they get a reward of right now 12.5 Bitcoins that are created by the system. So that's how the money supply slowly grows, and that's how miners are rewarded for taking their electricity and their time and their effort to win this puzzle. And this race happens every 10 minutes. So people do transactions in Bitcoin. Those transactions get aggregated into what's called a block of transactions. You know, think about like a plastic tub at the airport that you dump stuff into. So that's what happens. The transactions accumulate. They get put into what's called a block, and then miners compete by doing this math puzzle, and the winner, again, earns the right to record this new batch of transactions on the ledger. The other thing they win is they win all the transaction fees that are associated with all the transactions that are in this block. So it's called mining blocks. It's a very strange way to put it, but that's what's happening. That's what this is all about. And this takes, nowadays, thousands of computers to do and tons of power. So again, anyone that wants to undo this process, that wants to change the ledger, it's pretty much impossible to do it because you'd have to spend millions of dollars of electricity and computing power to try to undo the ledger. And so it's become essentially impossible to do so.
Yeah, and so we actually have I started building out a mine here, and I knew nothing about this world.
Oh.
So I'm running a mine and mining for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum and Litecoin and Monero, and it's definitely you're right. I mean, it still can be done if you wanted to do it at your home, right? If you with some GPUs and CPUs, but if you really want to kind of compete, so to speak, and grow a business out of it, you're right. You need to spend a lot of time, money, and resources in order to grow it out. What's your take on it as far as the mining aspect is concerned? Do you know people that are in the mining world that are? I mean, right now, with the current price of Bitcoin. Mining is difficult to actually make a little bit of money, so it's more about trying to break even or lose a little bit and hold out for the long term. Do you have anyone that you know that you talk to or that you're close with that's in the mining world or?
Yeah, I've spoken to a few. I mean, the biggest mining companies are really secretive, and I've heard that. Yeah, I've met some people that have toured places like that, and it sounds exciting, but it's not. It's just like this typically a huge warehouse of computers on racks, and there's gigantic fans blowing, and it's just, people have to sit there and babysit the computers and make sure they don't go down, and, they tend to sleep there, and it's just like not a very glorious thing.
Not.
It's crazy. You could have a warehouse full of computers all to get this one little digital result. It's all this physical stuff needed to create this money in a Bitcoin wallet, for instance, or a Monero wallet, and it's not physical. It's nothing. It's really odd.
Yeah, I've grown to. We just moved our facility from Massachusetts to Illinois, and I went into our Massachusetts facility, and it's completely silent now. I used to kind of love going in there and hearing all these things humming along because they definitely make a lot of noise and they produce a lot of heat. So the title of your book, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain. Before we get into Ethereum, this other term that we talked about, I mentioned it obviously in the beginning. What is cryptocurrency? You had mentioned cryptography. What is cryptocurrency? Is cryptocurrency and Bitcoin the same thing, or give us a little explanation of that?
Yeah, people. There's various names for all the different tokens out there. They'll call them tokens, crypto tokens, blockchain tokens. Some people call them cryptocurrencies, crypto, etc. A cryptocurrency really is supposed to be a token that's used as a currency. Bitcoin being one of them, Litecoin being another, Dogecoin. There's a few of them. Not a lot of them are used purely as a currency, but this just become like a buzzword. Like you're making a Xerox copy of something. It may not be a Xerox machine. You may be just doing a photocopy, but It was called a Xerox.
Right.
The same thing with crypto. So it's fine to use the word cryptocurrency, but people need to realize there's a lot of different uses for blockchain. So I can give you a couple if you'd like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
One example is, you talked about decentralized. So let me give people an idea of what that means. So there's a couple of tokens like Siacoin, Storage or Storj, Filecoin. What they're trying to do is this. Right now, if you want to store pictures and files and stuff, you can store it on Amazon Cloud, Google, iCloud, etc. Your data is not encrypted. It's all pooled in one place. Hackers can get it, and they do. And it's not even your own. These companies, reserve the right to make derivative copies of your work and use your stuff, your personal stuff, your pictures and files and everything, however they want to market to you, and they monetize it and stuff. So there's a number of these crypto tokens that say, well, we don't want to do that. We want to put power back with the users. What we're going to do is we're going to take your files, we're going to break them up into 100 pieces. We're going to encrypt each piece, and then we're going to store them on thousands of computers around the world. Now, good luck getting them hacked. Good luck having someone take that data and use it for marketing. It's secure now. It's cryptographically secure. It's broken up. It's decentralized into millions of pieces. It's much safer. And we're going to do it cheaper than what's currently out there. That's the promise of a few companies that are working in this space. So that's an example of what blockchain can do. And I'll give you one more for right now.
Wait, before you do,
so let's say,
can I interrupt you? So I'm listening to this, and I feel like I kind of get it, right? But so you're going to take, and I think that's a great example because you're talking about this is intimate to people, their personal information, their pictures. So what you're saying is that right now, so for instance, your data may be stored with on iCloud or Dropbox or something like that, and that's stored in one central location, right? Or controlled by one central authority, so to speak, Apple or a Dropbox. But with this, and what you're saying is with like a Siacoin or some of these other companies out there that are doing, what you're saying is that same information can then somehow be distributed across thousands and thousands, if not millions, of computers worldwide, and then so that it cannot be accessed by one central location. I guess my question, is that some people might think that almost will make it less secure, right? I mean, because it's going out to all these other people. Can you elaborate on that or explain that a little bit?
Well, it's encrypted, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's broken up into pieces.
Okay.
So you may get a piece on someone's computer in Mongolia or whatever, but you only got a piece of it and it's encrypted. So you got to break the encryption. Then you got to get all the pieces.
Okay.
So you got to attack multiple computers. I mean, when is that going to be worth it? 99.9% of the time, it's not. Imagine if I wanted to steal your car, right? I just go and I steal the car. It may have a lock on it, but what if the ability to drive the car was not contained within that car? Let's say I could break into the car, fine. But in order to start the car, I needed to get a code that was broken up into 56 pieces all over the world with different computers. Am I going to steal your car? No, it's not worth it. So sure, it could be anything can be broken into, but the hurdle to do so is so high, and it's distributed and it's such a pain in the ass to do. Just excuse my French. It's not going to happen. Maybe the highest value data ever it'll happen to. So I'll give you an example, right? So Satoshi Nakamoto in Bitcoin. The Bitcoin ledger has never been successfully hacked. People have individually, but not the ledger itself. Satoshi Nakamoto, there's supposedly addresses that are associated with him or her, and they were worth hundreds of billions. Those haven't been broken into. Why? Because the difficulty to do so is so high that no one has been able to do it, and that's like the biggest honeypot I've ever heard of.
Right? Yeah.
So that can't be broken into. Good luck. Who's going to steal your pictures of your grandmother or your dog or whatever it is, or your personal stuff that may be worth a lot to you, but to other people, there's no way it's worth it to do that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Hold on for a second. I want our viewers and listeners again who are listening right now or watching, folks. Again, if you'd like some more information, we're on with Richard Jacobs. He's got a podcast that I first started listening to called the Future Tech Podcast. He's also the author of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain: Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcast interviews of industry leaders. If you'd like some more information about Richard, you can actually find his book on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's available on Audible. But the other thing I love what he's doing is he's getting out more information to the masses through his expo that he founded called the Future Tech Expo. You just go to the futuretechexpo.com. It's coming up September 14th through the 16th. I believe it's in Dallas. So look, if you're interested in this world, which you need to be, this truly is the future. We're talking about the future. We're living at a point that I've been saying for a while in our lives that is just truly remarkable. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be literally at the beginning, but it's happening fast. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in this world, and if you don't get a hold of the information, you're going to get left behind. So again, if you want some more information about his book, you can find it on Amazon, and for those of you who would like to listen to it, it's available on Audible and also from the digital format. And I will say this again, what I love about his book, there's some other books that are out there. There's a lot of information out there. There's tons of information out there. I think we'll talk about it in a minute. I think that's one of the reasons also why you have Google and Facebook and some others that are banning the crypto type ads. But this book is going to give you the information that you need, and it's broken down in a manner in which the average everyday person can understand. So I really like that. So again, check them out on Amazon. Again, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain: Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcast interviews of industry leaders. Again, go to thefuturetechexpo.com if you want some more information there as well. So so we talked about obviously Bitcoin in the beginning, cryptocurrency in general a little bit. I love that. I love that analogy of the car. By the way, I'm going to steal that from you, and I'm going to use that. I'll give you credit in the future too. But what's Ethereum? So you have Bitcoin and Ethereum in your title. What's Ethereum?
Yeah, so Ethereum is another token that wants to use what's called smart contracts. So these are it's computer code executing instructions. It's a program essentially. But what's cool about it is this. So let's say I want to I want to rent a house, an Airbnb, right? Right now, what I do is I agree to meet with the owner. They hand me the keys, or maybe they have them in like a little lockbox or something, With Ethereum, you can do what's called a smart contract. So I can have the door lock of my Airbnb connected to the internet. It can be connected to the Ethereum blockchain. And what I can do is I can create a smart contract, an agreement, whereby, let's say someone rents the property for 48 hours, for 2 days. What they do is the smart contract says, okay, pay me $300, send your money to this smart contract. The person sends the money there. The smart contract communicates with the door lock and says, unlock for the next 48 hours. Now the person can go in there, rent it, etc. 48 hours are done. The instructions automatically say, okay, lock the door again. The contract is over. Also verified, let's say the house is vacant with a sensor. Okay. So this can happen all without a person's intervention. You don't have to have, the grizzled old landlord go out there and check the lockbox, make sure the keys are there, any of that stuff. This can happen all with computer code. So it's done by what's called a smart contract, again, which is an agreement. And Ethereum allows programmers and people to create smart contracts that say, if you do this, I do that. If this happens, do this. If this happens, transfer this money, etc. The set of instructions that can happen all by computer code without people's intervention. So this opens up tons of things that you can do for the law. You can have leases on a blockchain. You can have, all kinds of agreements and things that can happen on a blockchain. That's just one part of what smart contracts are and what they can do. But this is like a whole new, species or a type of creature that runs on a blockchain, and it has different characteristics to a cryptocurrency, for instance.
Yeah, so I know a little bit about, Ethereum, and I like it for what you're talking about, the smart contracts. Again, I love how you break it down. If this happens, then, if this, then that, right? That's how I understood, smart contracts. As an attorney myself, you start to think about, there are certain aspects, you'd mentioned the law. There are certain aspects of, quote, practicing law that I don't even really consider practicing law, like real estate lawyers who are just pushing paper back and forth. This world of cryptocurrency is changing our world in a positive manner, but it's also disrupting industries like real estate, right? Because if you have this smart contract in place using, like essentially tokenization of a cryptocurrency like Ethereum and using their blockchain, there's no need for like you said, that the grizzly old landlord or this intermediary to get involved, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me even to, you have the idea that comes to you, right? A smart contract. Okay. Then you say, what does it mean? So it takes a while to really think about all the different ways it can be used. There's a lot of different ways out there that people are innovating and figuring out, but it's just this whole new, thing that you can, again, use to create tons of things. Again, all kinds of contracts and agreements and if then this and that. So it's, I don't know if I've given enough example to it, but it's just like it's a new, very unusual and amazing type of application that blockchain has brought in.
Yeah. So the other part about Ethereum, can you elaborate? So you had mentioned, the blockchain, and elaborate a little bit about some of these other tokens that are being created using the open source code blockchain of Ethereum. Tell us a little bit about that and why that is important.
Yeah, all the just about all the ICOs and the new tokens created are using they're called what's called a ERC20 tokens. They're based off of the Ethereum blockchain. Just because of the way Ethereum is and its features, people have chosen to again use it as a backbone for their token. So there's been literally hundreds and hundreds of different tokens created based off of Ethereum. It's become really its own ecosystem, which is pretty cool. So I'll give you an example of a couple of use cases. So one is medical data. Right now, let's say you're 50 years old and you have to go to the doctor. Your medical data, it may be with 6 or 7 doctors all around the country over the past 30 or 40 years. And you're going to this new doctor and he says, hey, I need your medical records for the past, 10, 20 years. Well, good luck finding them. You call up your old doctor's offices. And I've been through this, by the way, with members of my family and myself. This doctor closed down. This one moved. Oh, this one's going to fax over the data, but you got to pay money to get it. And it's going to take a week. It's a real pain. People don't even have control of their medical data. This is their data.
Right.
Imagine now if you had a blockchain that held all your medical data, it was encrypted, and you own it and control it, and you go to a new doctor. All you have to do now is say, all right, doctor, I'm going to give you permission to access the medical data. Here you go. And I'll use a smart contract to have that data sent to you with temporary access so you can view it. So not only do I control my medical data, it's all in one place. It's with me, and it's distributed. It's encrypted. It can't be hacked. I can selectively share it with who I want and when I want. And I actually get better medical treatment because you'll see my whole history and it's all in one place. It's not scattered or lost or forgotten over the past, 40 or 50 years. So that's another example of blockchain. That's coming. And there's a bunch of companies that are working on it, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I'll give you one other example. So there's a huge thing called remittances, sending money back home. So let's say I emigrated to the U.S. from Pakistan, and I still have my family back there, and I'm working here, and I send money back home to my mom and my grandmother and all that. Right now, what I have to do is I have to go get my check, cash it, go down to Western Union, which may take a bus ride or whatever, sit there, fill out an application, give them the money, then they send it over and they take, pretty big fees out of it, sometimes 10% or more. My mom in Pakistan has to go get a bus, go to this Western Union station there, sit there, pay another fee, get the money, and then maybe go home and get robbed on the way home and try to use the diminished amount of money now that she's gotten from me, her son working in the U.S., and try to spend it. Instead, what if I was able to just send her Bitcoin or some other token I send it from my wallet to hers. She gets it in about 10 minutes. Over in Pakistan, she doesn't have to go anywhere. She may be able to cash out into fiat, or she may be able to even use Bitcoin or whatever crypto over there to buy stuff. And it's seamless, and the fees may be minuscule. Maybe they're 0.1%, or maybe even less. So that's another promise of crypto that they're working on, is making remittances smoother and faster and better.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I talk a little. I think I wrote a book as well, and I talk a little bit about that. I have a house cleaner from Brazil, and very similar story to what you talk. With the MoneyGram type thing, where she's working here, and she's got family there, and she takes a certain percentage of her income and sends it over there, and she was using MoneyGram, and it's, like you said, it's expensive, it's time consuming, and there's a lot of room for error. When I showed her how she could just go from one wallet to another with no fees, and it's almost instant, it really kind of blew her mind.
Yep.
So by the way, again, so many things. Again, we're on with Richard Jacobs. He's the author of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain: Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcast interviews of industry insiders. I was originally on his podcast, which is called the Future Tech Podcast. He's the founder of an expo called the Future Tech Expo. It's one of the largest in the world. People from all over the world come to this. It's coming up this September 14th through 16th. If you want some more information about this world, if you want to learn about it, if you're in it, if you want to meet industry leaders, if you want to network, this is the place to be. Go to thefuturetechexpo.com. I'm definitely going to be there September 14th through the 16th. Also, you can find his book on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, for those of you that like to listen to books as well. So many great things in your book, and I know probably you were like me, where you just had to stop at some point because there's so much more information that keeps coming out. Tell me a little bit about, tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about this concept of digitization of assets and what that means, and maybe also kind of tying in the smart contract aspect of it. They tell us a little bit about that concept and how the blockchain is changing things.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if I'm as good at explaining this, but I'll try. So I'm going to take collectibles, like baseball cards, all right? Well, actually, no, I'll take gold. Gold's more simple. So, some people own gold. They may own physical gold. They may own gold options or gold stocks, etc. But there's a bunch of physical gold sitting around there. In order for it to have value, in order for you to trade it with someone, they'd have to come, inventory it, make sure it's physically there, etc. Why not digitize the gold you have? Use a ledger that's unchangeable and do the initial work to verify you have X amount of gold, record that on a blockchain, and now I have a digitized version of the gold I own. I have one gold bar that's worth $20,000. But now there's a blockchain that says I have one gold bar worth $20,000. Let's say I want to sell that gold to somebody or pledge it for a loan or something. Instead of me going to have to go get the physical gold, transport it to the other person and give it to them for a period of time, all I would have to do is update the blockchain in the ledger and send that digitized version of the gold to them. And now the ledger would say that they have the gold because I've used it to pay them for something, or I've transferred it to them, or I've pledged it to them. Maybe a bank temporarily has quote unquote custody of it. They have access to that digitized version of the gold. It's just as good as a proxy for the actual gold itself, but now there's a way for me to transfer that value and to make sure that it's not corrupted using a blockchain. So that's one small example of how an asset could be digitized. Let's take houses. So right now you have documents that show you own a house. They're recorded at like your recorder's office in your state. They're in their database, which is not it is semi-public, but not completely public. It's not distributed. Again, it's not encrypted. It's hackable, etc. What if we were able to put real estate for all the U.S. on a blockchain? Then we would know that so-and-so owns a house, and the government can't just come in and say, sorry, you don't own the house anymore, because the blockchain shows they do own the house. It would be a much easier way for people to verify that they actually own something, to be able to control it, to be able to pledge it, to be able to sell it, to gain value from it, etc. So that's what digitization of assets means. If we're going to allow our money to be digitized and on ledgers, why can't we allow our physical items, our houses, our cars, et cetera, to be on a ledger and to have the same benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an awesome concept. By the way, I think you did a great job explaining it. And then the other part that I start to think about when I was, kind of trying to tie in the smart contract aspect of it is also the fractionalization side of it as well, right? So if you talked about in your book, for instance, if you had I think you said Picasso, or you talked about art. If you had artwork that's worth X amount of dollars, and maybe you want to digitize that so that everyone knows it's yours. There are ways to essentially borrow against that now, right? I mean, if you have a $20 million Picasso, it's difficult sometimes to borrow against it, right? But if you can use the blockchain technology and fractionalize it, it's a great way. I mean, that's going to happen as well in the real estate world. In fact, I know that there are coins out there that are trying to do that right now, right? That are trying to do that within the real estate world. Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, there's a number of ones that are trying to do that. I mean, it's super ambitious, but Factum is one company that's working with mortgage companies to take all their mortgage documents, which was very controversial back in 08, 09 with the real estate collapse, and they want to put all their mortgage documents onto a blockchain. So the mortgage companies can't say, "Whoa, we lost the note," or if Bank of America sold a mortgage to Chase or to someone else, that's memorialized on a blockchain. It can't be hidden. You want to know, okay, this bank, how many mortgages do they have that are in default? Well, you could just see it instead of them trying to hide it on their books. And you'd have a lot more transparency about what's going on and who owns what and who controls what.
Yeah.
So it's a huge project, but it's being worked on.
So I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to bring it into right now what's going on let's see, we're in April now, April 2018. The world of cryptocurrency has been just getting hammered with all this negativity, and Bitcoin is just has lost over 50% of its value since late 2017. Talk a little bit about that, but I wanted to ask you, so right now you have big institutional banks that are doing everything they can to hold on to their market share and to their own technology and to their customers by doing things like blocking cryptocurrency purchases. You got Bank of America, you got Wells Fargo, you got Chase, you got Capital One. Not allowing people to buy cryptocurrency. Like, I don't know if you have the answer right now, but how are people buying cryptocurrency right now? Because I could tell you, as someone who has a mine and someone who has traded literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrencies, I'm having a tough time trying to figure out how people can buy stuff right now. I have money already sitting there, but I don't know how other people are buying. What are people doing literally right now? How are you buying cryptocurrency right now?
You can still buy it through your bank. They just don't want you to use a credit card. You can use a debit card.
Yeah, no, Bank of America.
Simple answer for you.
Yeah, I mean, Bank of America is straight up blocking it. I know Wells Fargo is straight up blocking it. Even debit cards. It's crazy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I had found a hole. Well, some ways to get it is you can go to an exchange and convert it and buy it that way. You can, send your money to, let's say, Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Bittrex is set up yet to take U.S. dollars. Where is there? Kraken.
Yeah.
I know it took U.S. dollars, Poloniex, et cetera. So there's a number of places you can send cash to and then buy crypto that way. Coinbase, if you can get your cash there, you can do that. There's local Bitcoins where you can trade with people directly. There's a whole bunch of outlets still to get it. It's not just because, you can't use your debit card or your credit card to do it. It's still available in a lot of places. These banks, at the same time, they're saying no to Bitcoin and no to the cryptos that they can't control. They're very quickly adopting the ones that they can control. Hyperledger initiative. They want to have these either public or private permission blockchains where they can just convert their holdings to using these blockchains that they can control and use the parts of the technology they like and throw away the parts they don't like. So that's part of the reason is they're very busy, believe me, adopting blockchain you may not see it, but at the same time, they're trying to say that Bitcoin and these other traditional cryptocurrencies, they can't control, are bad. So that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, Bank of America has the most patents of any entity in the world of blockchain. So they obviously see it. Tell us, before I let you go, one concept that's towards the end of your book that I found really interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because my core business, we process millions of transactions and millions of dollars on an annual basis with credit cards, and it's kind of how I fell into this whole world of cryptocurrency. I found it really, really interesting. From a chargeback perspective, which you talk about in the book, from a more symbiotic relationship with my customer as well, because there are thousands of instances throughout the years where my own customers didn't charge anything back, but the bank encouraged them to, which the customer has no idea that what kind of havoc that can wreak on a business like mine. But a lot of our transactions are done over the phone, right? In my business, we take phone calls and we do a lot of stuff in what they call a card not present environment. And I got really excited about the world of cryptocurrency because now I have options, and I can help maybe kind of convert some of my customers into this cryptocurrency world. But for me, one of the challenges was, and I'm actually working with some other companies like Response Network, but what I found interesting, and what you talked about in your book, and I had been using a different term, but there's a term called aliasing you talk about in your book. Tell us, I think this is probably more from me. I want you to elaborate a little bit about what is aliasing and why is that kind of cool? Because guys like me, I think that solves a big problem that I have because of this big, long code, the public key that people need to give out. It's almost impossible to memorize, and then even then you don't want to walk around with it, in your wallet or what have you. What is aliasing?
Well, it's just, okay, so, right, if I want to send Bitcoin to someone, first of all, I have to get their public key and put it in. And then I got to check it really carefully. Because the keys they're 32-bit hexadecimal numbers. So it'll look like 1, capital E, X, P, capital F, 2, 5, capital, it's crazy. So you need to know the public key of who you're sending to, first of all, paste that in, and then look at it 5 or 6 times to make sure it's all exact. Because if you're off by a capitalization or a number, your money can go into space and never come back again. There's no refunds here. Then you need to paste in, oftentimes, your private key in order to access your wallet so you can send the money to someone else. The same thing. You don't even want to, if you have it on your computer, that could be hacked. If you have it written down on paper, you got to go get it. You want to memorize it, fine, not so easy to do. But you don't want to expose your private keys at all if possible. You got to remember that thing and put it in. Make sure it's done right. Make sure there's no copy-paste virus in your computer that can screw up one of the keys and steal your money, because that's happened. So aliasing means I can associate, let's say, my email address with a public key. So if I want to send money to you, I can either send it to this crazy hexadecimal address, or I could send it to, Mike545@gmail.com. And I can put in my address book, and I can remember, no problem. I just put Mike, I know it's right, and out it goes. So that's what aliasing is, just making it a lot simpler to take these crazy hexadecimal numbers and make them into words or phrases that people can readily remember and send to.
Yeah, I loved it when I saw that because I've been referring to it as a short code, kind of like like we have with URLs. Lastly, before I let you go, you talk a lot about again, we're on with Richard Jacobs. He is the author of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain: Surprising Insights from 200 plus podcast interviews of industry insiders. I originally learned about Richard from his podcast, the Future Tech Podcast, which I was on a while ago. If you want more information about Richard and his book, you can just find his book on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's available on Audible. His conference is called the Future Tech Expo. It's one of the largest in the world. Some of the leading experts from all over the world come to this expo. It's going to be in Dallas, September 14th through the 16th of 2018. You can go to futuretechexpo.com. Before I let you go, Rich, I know we're talking about Richard. Richard, we'll call you Rich. You talk. I subscribe to your newsletter as well. I think that's called Future Tech Daily, right? Newsletter.
Right.
and you talk, and it's great because you give great information about all different things within this world, and you stay up to date, which is really, really important. A lot of people don't like to speculate, but I think the one you even sent out today, you were talking about Ripple. But tell us, if you give us, my viewers and listeners, what cryptocurrency right now, and as we sit here today in April of 2018, is there a cryptocurrency that you like, and if there is one, why, and why should people be interested and take a look at it?
I like the basics. I like Bitcoin. I even like Bitcoin Cash. I like Dash. I like Ripple. I like Ethereum for sure. I like the ones that have platforms that have been around for a while, that have an infrastructure, that have a reason for being. They're not just a Me Too type of thing. Those are the ones I like, all for various reasons. Dash, I like them because they're just relentless marketers, and they have a very solid community and a great way of doing things. And I think they're going to do really, really well. They're working in the cannabis industry to help, medical marijuana providers. I think they're going to do very well, over the long term. Bitcoin, the Lightning Network sounds like it's coming, which will allow Bitcoin to scale very quickly. I think it'll do very well. Bitcoin Cash, I know a lot of people, it's very controversial and they hate it, but they're not going away, and they're going to keep attacking the Bitcoin crown and trying to steal it. And they're getting more and more infrastructure and power behind Bitcoin Cash, and they're really making a run for that crown, like I said. So love them or hate them, I don't think they're going away, and I think they're going to perform very well over time and survive. Ethereum, as we talked about, smart contracts, that's a whole super valuable ecosystem. So those are the cryptos I like. Ripple, a lot of people don't like it, but hey, they're working with banks to help solve their back-end processing, their currency risk, et cetera. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of savings at stake. And when you're dealing with players like that control the world's money, and you're helping them, you're probably going to do well too. So those are the cryptos I like, and I think will do well for those reasons and more.
I love it. Richard, again, Rich, thanks so much for spending the time. I really, really appreciate it. Again, folks, if you've been listening or you're watching right now, and you want some more information about Richard, you can find his book, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain, right on Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. If you want more information about Richard himself as well, you can just go to thefuturetechexpo.com. It's gonna bring you again to this website where there's a lot of information about the world of cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, not just Ethereum, but the world's leading experts are going to be here. And if you want to be in this space, whether you're a passive investor, whether you're an entrepreneur like myself and Richard, whether you're just interested in the future and where we're at today, you need to participate in things like this. I found throughout the years that when I go to events like the Future Tech Expo, I meet people smarter than me. I network with people that are doing stuff that might be innovative, that I might be interested in. And it really just gets your mind, working. So it's really, really important. I talk a lot about this in some of my other publications that, get around people that are in the world of cryptocurrency, that are in this cutting edge world. It is changing the world, and Richard and I, talking about this obviously throughout this podcast. So again, if you want some more information, you can just go to thefuturetechexpo.com, or again, pick up his book, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain. Again, my name is Michael Alden. I hope this has been an informative podcast for you. If you felt as though that it did add value to your day or to your knowledge within the world of cryptocurrency, please share it, rate it. We want to give it a good rating. Go to iTunes and give it a good rating. I'd really, really appreciate it. Again, my name is Michael Alden, and we'll see you soon. All right. Well, I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I'm having so much fun bringing you cutting-edge information and from entrepreneurs, from thought leaders, from authors all over the world. And I'm really excited to announce something. I'm speaking this September of 2018, at the Future Tech Expo in Dallas, Texas. It's actually September 14th, 15th, and 16th, and I'm speaking there. It's an amazing event. It's one of the biggest blockchain, Bitcoin, and tech expos in the world. People like Tim Draper and Randy Zuckerberg are going to be there, and you can rub elbows with some of the smartest people in this world. September 14th, 15th, and 16th. If you text Blue Vase, again, text Blue Vase to 555-888, you can be my VIP. I'm going to give you some discounted tickets, but you can also be my VIP. There's an opportunity as well to have dinner with me and my team, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this world of cryptocurrency, of Bitcoin, of blockchain, and the future of technology. Again, text Blue Vase to 555-888. If you want to be involved in this world, if you want to grow in this world, if you want to take advantage of the biggest opportunity of your life, then you need to be at events like the Future Tech Expo. Again, text Blue Vase to 555-888. I'll see you there.